Thank you so much for having me, everybody. I'm really, really excited to be speaking here today. I'll just be sharing my slides, and just as an FYI, trigger warning, if any of you is allergic to butts or boobs, you might have to go away now, because this is a bit of a presentation that includes a lot of them. So before we actually start, I wanted to give you a bit of an intro to me and my experience, just because it's actually relevant to what we are doing today. So you can find me all over the internet at Blogger on Poll. If you want to tweet me or share anything from today, you're going to see a lot of me again, but at least I've given you a warning. So just to give you an idea, I'm a PhD student here at City. I've just submitted my thesis on online abuse and conspiracy theories. So pray for me. But I'm also an activist, I'm a blogger, and I'm a pole dance performer and instructor. What can you expect from today? Well, you can expect a blend of my research experience with my activism and my pole dancing. You can expect a lot of polemic statements, some nakedness, and it's increasingly happening in my academic career, Bruce Wayne and Batman will be in the same big online room for a day. So let's have a bit of a throwback. When we first started engaging with the internet, particularly in the late 90s, early noughties, and even in the 2010s, we had this idea that the internet was going to be this great positive thing, that it was going to, reduce inequalities, it was going to give more people a platform, it was going to make territorial division meaningless. And with election campaigns like the Obama campaign, harnessing the power of social media, with movements like the Arab Spring, #MeToo, Black Lives Matter happening, it would be fair to think that this was actually true, that we did have this opportunity. And Mark Zuckerberg himself, the founder of Facebook, said that many of the workers from the technology sector got into the sector to put power in people's hands. But if you fast forward to now, as we've just seen in the election, social media can be used for disinformation. It can be used to share conspiracy theories. There's such thing as the manosphere. Online hate speech is rife, and cyber flashing is a thing. So it looks like the internet's own infrastructure is actually facilitating behaviors such as outright harassment without platforms doing much to prevent it. And this is because although social media platforms are required to abide by the country they're in, the laws by the country they're in, actually they're largely governed by their own laws. They're in-platform laws known as community guidelines or community standards, which have been deemed as very opaque and that are often enforced through algorithmic moderation. And algorithmic moderation is known to reflect offline inequalities and reflect the unconscious or conscious biases of those that make those algorithms or that, work on the moderation side of things. And this is very apparent in the moderation of online nudity, particularly after FOSTA and SESTA, an exception to Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act in the US was approved. Before FOSTA and SESTA, social media platforms were not liable for what was posted on them. But after it, if content posted on social media were to be seen as promoting sex trafficking or promoting prostitution or facilitating it, then social media would be liable for it. So they panicked and they started censoring and deleting the accounts of a variety of sex workers, even very high profile sex workers. And that brings the question, is the whole of the internet being governed according to one US law? With the internet being global, that would be strange. But it seems that the fear of sex is all over internet moderation. And this was very clear in 2019 when queer brands and sex toy brands could not advertise anymore on major social media platforms. The accounts of artists, sex educators, performers were deleted together with sex workers, following a purge by incels facilitated by the platform's community standards. And then there's my least favorite bird, the one that I'm most expert in because it targets me as well, the shadow ban. Shadow ban is a user-generated term. Platforms do not massively like it, but it is repeated across a variety of platforms like Twitter, like TikTok. My expertise resides within Instagram because I'm constantly shadow banned on Instagram. What happens with the shadow ban is that although your account is not deleted, it's slightly censored. So your content is not searchable on the Explore page, preventing you from finding new audiences and from growing, which for creators, for artists, for sex workers, it's incredibly important because this is how they make their livelihood. And the shadow ban can happen through two techniques. It can either be a form of algorithmic shadow ban, so the algorithm picks up nudity straight away and it kind of obscures your content so that only people who follow you can see it, or it could be related to hashtags. So hashtags help you connect your content with other people that post about similar things. But if a hashtag is shadow banned, then all the content underneath that hashtag is going to be hidden and you don't reach anyone. This is actually written in Facebook policy because Mark Zuckerberg in 2018 confirmed that their algorithms are 96% proficient at picking up nudity, but only 52% at picking up hate speech. They say that's because hate speech is very nuanced and it's difficult to pick it up. But in my opinion, it's also a bit of a difference in their priorities of what to tackle. So this brings me to my own autoethnography of the experiences of posting on Instagram as a pole dancer who, has to kind of be naked to do her sport and perform. So these are two posts, one from 2018 on the left and one from 2020 on the right. In 2018, I had been pole dancing for just 2 years. I wasn't very good, and I had about 3,000 followers on Instagram. And my engagement was huge. Nearly 12,000 views on a post. And this was regular. I just kept growing. This was before people started noticing the shadow ban. Fast forward to the beginning of 2020. So now, where I'm a trained pole dance instructor, I've competed in a variety of competitions, having won some. And I have doubled the amount of followers now, even more. But my engagement was, ridiculously low. Only 2,000 people reached, or even less. And I was even wearing more clothes, so I don't really understand. But you can see that post shadow ban, my experiences and the experiences of people in my network mirror this kind of decrease in, views and people reached. And this will hit the fan in 2019 when hashtag female fitness was shadow banned, while male fitness was left there to thrive because men can work out, but women apparently can't. And also all the hashtags that we used as pole dancers to find new moves and to network with other pole dancers were shadow banned. So some very famous pole dancers started a petition, and because I'd been interviewing Instagram through my blog and I'd been in communications with them, they kind of brought me into their group. And this resulted in Instagram apologizing to pole dancers for moderating our hashtags in error. This was their first big apology to us. So although nothing much changed after, it was an acknowledgement. Afterwards, we founded Everybody Visible, which was an international internet day campaign where a bunch of people, from sex workers to athletes, tagged the chiefs of Facebook and Instagram in their naked pictures. And we were acknowledged by Instagram's CEO saying that our demands were reasonable, and Dita Von Teese, the international burlesque star, supported our campaign. So my kind of understanding of all of this is a bit polemic, but my approach to this is that Instagram regulates risk and the fear of risk through banning nudity. And this is what I call the shadow ban cycle. So there's harmful and abusive content on the internet. Social media platforms are not tackling it, and they need to be seen as to be tackling it. They're pushed to do something. So they go for nudity and healthy sexual content because it's an easy scapegoat. And therefore we have the nudity ban, and it just goes in circles. So how do we tackle this? Well, we need to continue campaigning, particularly against foster incesta, which has been seen as being really negative towards protecting the people that it actually meant to protect. We need to implement human rights law into social media moderation, because according to human rights law, if something is shocking and offensive, it can still be published. But if something violates someone's human rights, it shouldn't. And we need to involve governments not to just regulate social media, but to break up monopolies, because the same moderation techniques cannot be applied to every users on the internet. And finally, if you love someone on the internet, stalk them, like all their posts, share them, help them amplify their reach and their content, because most likely platforms are not, and these people really need that. So this is me. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this angry naked rant.